Hello everybody, Andrew Field here. How's your day been going? I know there's a lot of different stories I have to cover, so I'm just going to get straight into it. Going off of what I said in the last video about how the MLB moved the draft and the All-Star game out of Georgia because of to oppose the new restricting um, Georgian law that restricts voter rights. I just wanted to mention that besides the MLB, which did a great job in opposing the new law, companies that were also opposed to the new law include Facebook, Google, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Apple, Microsoft, Aflac, Coca-Cola, Delta Airlines, and Home Depot. So bravo to all of those companies for sticking their neck out and deciding to say something when they think it's wrong. So yeah, um, as you may know, the Derek Chauvin case is going on. It's actually almost at the end at this point. As it entered the third week in the trial, um, on April 12th, residents of a nearby Minneapolis community started protesting the fatal police shooting of a 20-year-old Daunte Wright. He was only 20 years old, like I said. He got pulled over during a traffic stop. The mom of Daunte said, I saw the video she recorded and it sounded legitimate. Said that they left Daunte's body on the street for I think it was 5-6 hours at least. And she said that he was pulled over for having air fresheners in the car. He complied with I initially thought he complied with the officer. It seemed like he was resisting arrest, but in the end, it doesn't matter. I mean, even if you're resisting arrest, it doesn't mean getting shot, unless they're trying to pull a gun on you. But it sounded like he was resisting arrest, and then the cop that was on the scene reached for the taser and somehow mistook that with a gun, accidentally pulled out the gun, shot him, and then his girlfriend was in the car. He got in the car and then drove and crashed the car, and then he died. The police chief tried to make the case that the officer accidentally misshot with, thinking it was a taser, but it was a gun. People have heard that before in a different case, and just seems kind of unlikely. Of course, he's a black man, Daunte Wright, and that's why people are protesting. It's another black man that was killed by police. Police brutality does need to get better. I know it's really hard because there's a good amount of good police officers who are not racist, who, want to follow the law, but there's also a lot of racist cops, obviously, who don't mind killing black people in this country. So it's a really hard position. There's some good, there's some bad. You're trying to weed out the bad, but in the process, when you think of a police officer, a lot of people now think of them as evil, even though it's just a part of the police force. So it's really a complicated issue, um, and you know, being a police officer is a really hard job and everything. Obviously, we need to hold all these people that kill innocent black people in this country. They need to be held accountable to the full extent of the law. I just feel bad for the good police officers that do their duty right and they, arrest people, the right way without the use of extra force, that do their job day in and day out that are, treated poorly because of these horrible officers that disgrace the honor for everyone else. Um, the police used flashbangs and chemical munitions to clear the crowd. Daunte Wright had a son and a girlfriend. Protests continued for a second night, uh, and I think they've been still ongoing. A medical examiner ruled the shooting a homicide, and also in George Floyd's, in the case of George Floyd, a medical examiner that testified said the death was caused by police pressure. which was obviously a big deal because they were trying to say it was drug related. The defense, which is pretty pathetic. But I mean, it's very pathetic. Everyone saw it on video why he died. And this was because medical experts testified in the second week of the trial. The murderer, Derek Chauvin of George Floyd, decided to not testify, citing the Fifth Amendment, which is the right to not incriminate himself, because he probably was going to. But he's still an asshole, and I hope the jury has enough information, because they definitely do, and he should get convicted for life. And if he were to get capital punishment, I wouldn't mind that either, to be honest. So it could be made an example of these police officers, you know. There was a few shootings that happened from my last video to now. There was one in Tennessee where there were multiple victims reported over a shooting in a high school in Knoxville. A student brought a gun to school and then shot officers, and the officers ended up having to kill the student. The student injured a couple officers and locked himself in the bathroom. Tennessee governor, by the way, who is also an asshole, signed into law days before the shooting a constitutional carry. It's great timing, right? Sign into constitutional carry into law. A few days later, a student goes to a school with a gun and injures officers on the scene. There was a separate shooting that happened very recently. I think it was yesterday, either yesterday or the day before, where 8 people were killed, including the gunman in an Indianapolis FedEx shooting. The gunman was a 19-year-old, same age as me, a 19-year-old former FedEx employee. So the motivation, I assume, is, you know, getting let go from the job. They're still investigating because it happened very recently. The attack only lasted a couple minutes, so I think it was only like 2-3 minutes, they were saying, and he killed 8 people. I wonder what kind of gun could do that. Oh yeah, it's an assault rifle that can shoot like 30 bullets a second. I mean, all these mass shootings are assault rifles. You don't hear, I mean, it's not common to hear someone with a pistol go in and kill a bunch of people in a short amount of time. It's an assault rifle that's built to kill people. It's made, you know, the U.S. military uses it worldwide to kill terrorists. People. They're not used to kill animals. They're not used for anything else. That's their sole purpose. So you can't make an argument for civilians having assault rifles. I mean, even the people that say, oh, we don't want the government taking guns. Well, no one needs an assault rifle. If you want to defend yourself, have a handgun. Don't have an assault rifle. I mean, the argument that they say it's people and not the guns is stupid, because yeah, it is the people. The people that are committing these mass shootings are obviously messed up in the head. They've got some big mental issues. They think killing people is a good thing. But it's obviously the person, they're partially right, but it's also not good for them to be able to have an assault rifle, because like I said, there's no need for an assault rifle in this country besides the military. That's it. It's pretty simple. It's just that, you know, the Republicans are corrupt. You know, they use the Second Amendment, which was created during a war, or right after a war. The Constitution was made right after a war, when Great Britain was still in America. We still had all this conflict going on. That's when they made the Second Amendment. But, you know, people don't care about that. And the Republicans are just bribed by the NRA. So that's the reason why we can't get stuff done. But Joe Biden wants to do it, and Democrats want to do it. So hopefully they can get some gun reform done. It only lasted a couple minutes, and then the gunman shot himself. The Manhattan District Attorney seized evidence from former Trump executive's daughter-in-law. Trump hired a criminal defense lawyer, Ronald Fischetti, who's 84 years old, and he's definitely going to need as many lawyers as he can get, because he's in deep trouble right now, because the New York state investigation seems to be picking up. They just got new evidence, and I'm sure they're going to have a huge case against him for tax fraud and maybe other things. So he likely will go to jail, I think. I don't think, even if he has 20 lawyers, I think he's still going to jail. So I would love to see that. That's going to be recorded. Um, Going along with Matt Gaetz scandal, a second aide to Matt Gaetz quit amid an ongoing Justice Department investigation. On top of that, the House Ethics Committee is investigating Matt Gaetz for the sexual assault allegations brought against him with a minor. The GOP Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida, um, Matt Gaetz' associate Joel Greenberg may cooperate because he's dealing with his own problems right now. And like I said, he's an associate with Gaetz, so helping with his case and framing Gaetz would limit his sentence. So he's probably going to do that. That would be awesome for his associate to send him to jail. The Senate is to take up the Asian American hate crimes bill. I think it's a good bill, but I don't know if it'll pass because the Republicans don't want to pass anything that's useful. They're just mad that they don't hold any power, so they just want to block as many things as they can, but hopefully it passes. I don't know. I don't think they can use reconciliation for that because it's not like a budget type thing. I think it's more of like a message type thing, but I really would want that to get passed because it's a good bill and it's sending a message to people like to not commit these hate crimes. The House also wanted to take up the Paycheck Fairness Act. This may have gotten passed. I didn't check on that. I'm sorry. But the essence of this bill is equal pay for women. So the House is trying to do what it can to pass many progressive bills. New Mexico and New York legalized pot. The majority of Brazil's COVID-19 ICU patients are aged 40 years or younger, which is obviously a big concern. Some think the reason is the new COVID variant in Brazil. So these variants, like I've been talking about, are very scary. There's one from South Africa. There's one that came from the UK. I think there actually might be one that came from the US, and then there's just one from Brazil. And for it to be attacking young people like this, where they're getting seriously injured, means that a lot of people need to get vaccinated quickly, so the strains don't become the dominant strain here. There was a study that came out that said nearly 40% of Marines declined to take the COVID-19 vaccine. I think that's a really bad decision. First off, these Marines are, some of these Marines are going to other countries, and like all the way around, Marines are supposed to represent the country and the ideals and everything. And they're like essential workers. They fight to defend this country, so they were probably first in line or close to. It's just really astounding that almost 40% of them declined to take the vaccine. It just shows how bad things can get when things that seem simple like vaccines become political. Yeah, it was a sad study to see. Michigan's having a COVID-19 spike. This was as of March 8th, but I think it's still going on. March 8th, the numbers, they reported over 7,000 cases that day. Governor Gretchen Whitmer asked President Biden for more vaccine doses to be sent to the state. The current rate of U.S. cases right now, 31.2 million. This was from a few days ago, so it's not exact, but it's around here. Of 31.2 million cases total, 561,000 dead Americans, 3 million total deaths worldwide. So obviously some big numbers there. Big news with Johnson & Johnson. The FDA and the CDC halted the Johnson & Johnson vaccine after there were reports of blood clots. Now, I don't know how much you may have heard about this, but there was 7 reports of blood clots from people after they took the vaccine out of 7 million doses. So I just want to clarify that first off, we know for a fact that if there are a correlation between blood clots and the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, it's not a common thing. Like I said, 7 million people took a dose, the Johnson & Johnson dose, and 7 people I think it was 7 people that reported blood clots. What they halted it for was they wanted to make sure they're going to do studies on it and see the evidence on it. So I also want to say that not only would it be really rare for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, but they don't know if it's correlated. They found 7 people that ended up having blood clots, but it could mean that, they had blood clots and, they just took the vaccine. They don't know if it's correlated. They're just pausing it because they don't want to be liable if it is correlated and people don't know, so that's why they're pausing it. And they will continue. The halt on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is going to continue until more data on the blood clot disorder is available. Johnson & Johnson requested other vaccine companies to do the probe on the blood clot risk. AstraZeneca was interested in helping, whereas Pfizer and Moderna saw no need to help, which in my opinion is wrong because AstraZeneca I think was tied to blood clots, and Johnson & Johnson, they're investigating whether it is or not. So it makes sense why those two would team up. They have a similar problem. With Pfizer and Moderna, they don't have any allegations of blood clots in that vaccine, or risk of blood clots from getting the vaccine. So, you may think, why would they help them? But it's just to repair an image, because there's already a lot of people that don't want to get the vaccine. There's a lot of Trump supporters and QAnon idiots that are not going to want to get the vaccine. And there's a lot of people that just are uninformed, that aren't QAnon idiots, that aren't really well informed and feel like it was rushed, or, don't want to take a needle shot, or things like that. So there's a lot of people that are at least worried, but wouldn't want to take the vaccine. So something like this is really dangerous because we had 3 effective vaccines and now one's being investigated. So first off, the people that took the Johnson & Johnson vaccine are worried, but on top of that, now people are like, have a reason to point to about the vaccine. So in my opinion, I would say that Pfizer and Moderna are making a mistake by not helping the image of Johnson & Johnson, because even though their businesses they might think are helpful, I would say it probably hurts them, because then with more people nervous, this might tip them over the edge and they're going to say, I'm not getting vaccinated. So that means less people are going to get vaccinated, and that's a real problem in the country. So I think they should be helping out, as much as they can. Colleges say they're going to require students to get vaccinated in the fall. More colleges have said. I don't think you've met my new puppy. If I can show you. Kobe! Hold on one sec. He just went. I got a new puppy pretty recently, but that's okay. 748 million shots were given to 114 million Americans that have so far received a dose of the vaccine, which at that point was 44% of the adult population. I checked the numbers today. Right now it's 49.7%, so about 50%. 128 million adults received the vaccine dose. 82 million are fully vaccinated now. Getting the COVID vaccine prevents death and severe disease from COVID. And Rachel Maddow, I was watching her show and I totally agree with what she was saying, that the vaccine does a lot to protect you, getting severely affected or getting COVID in the first place. But, if you don't care enough for yourself to get the vaccine, you should really think about other people, because you're protecting others by getting the vaccine, obviously, and you don't want to be held responsible if you didn't get the vaccine, didn't care enough to get it, and then you got COVID, and then you gave it to someone you cared about, and they got really sick from it. So it's better to think about protecting others. The Pfizer CEO said recently that the 3rd vaccine dose likely is going to be needed within 12 months. I have really good news with the vaccine. The vaccines in Illinois. In Illinois, they just made it where anybody 16 and older can get the vaccine. I am 16 and older, so I was eligible, and so I went on my local Walgreens, and thankfully there was vaccination appointments available, so I was able to schedule my first dose for Monday, and then the second dose a month from Monday, because I'm getting Moderna, and that's a 4-week wait between the first and second dose. So I'm excited about that. I'm glad I was able to get a vaccination appointment. The states vary on how much, like how the level of people that can get the vaccination. So you want to check that, and then check your local pharmacy to see if you're able to schedule an appointment with that. The Texas Rangers baseball team hosted their home opener to 38,000 fans. That was April 5th. That was not that long ago. It is outdoors, so you can make that argument, but still not a good idea to try and make things look like it's back to normal when we're like on the cusp. But we just need to get enough people vaccinated where we can, not have to worry about COVID right away. Prince Philip died at 99 years old and is being laid to rest. Trump's campaign chief Manafort associate Killiman gave Russia the 2016 election strategy, the U.S. says. A very crazy story also. Trump is a con man, but this is like a whole nother level. Trump used scam tactics to take money away from his own supporters because when a Trump supporter made any donation to him, it ended up being a monthly donation by them like tricking people, where when you made it, instead of it being one time, the default option was a monthly donation, and then near the election they actually made it a weekly, which was a horrible scheme, and the people who sent him money were idiots anyway. But they had some big consequences of people like struggling to get by, and the Trump campaign ended up being forced to give 530,000 refunds worth 64.3 million. So that's good for them. That even though they're stupid and supported him, they realized that they were getting conned, and you know at least got some of their money back. Big news also with the Oath Keeper member that was charged in the insurrection, became the first to plead guilty in the pro-Trump Capitol riot, was the first of 400 people to be charged, first of the 400 people to be charged to plead guilty. His name was John Schaefer, and he's agreeing to work with the prosecutors. And then a big announcement from Biden came a few days ago that he announced U.S. troops will leave Afghanistan by September 11th, ending America's longest war, which is good news. We've been there too long, and we needed to get out of there. So he's doing it on the anniversary of 9/11. So yeah, that's all the news I have for you guys today. Thank you for sticking around. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and have a good rest of your day.